Hi, Storyworks readers. What I love most about being a writer is that every story I write is like taking a journey. So I discover new places and times that sometimes I didn't even know existed. That's what happened when I decided to write about the Hindenburg disaster. In fact, I wrote a whole book about the Hindenburg in my I Survived series. When I was done, I still had so much I wanted to tell you. That's why I decided to write this month's article in Storyworks. I wanted to pull you into the truly fascinating world of zeppelins, a kind of flying machine that was wildly popular in the 1920s and 1930s. What I never understood was just how wild people were about zeppelins, and it's easy to understand why. Back then, if you wanted to cross an ocean, you couldn't just hop on a plane. Planes were zipping around back then, but passenger airplanes couldn't yet make it across oceans. So you had to take a ship, and the journeys could take forever, sometimes 10 days. And this wasn't a Disney cruise. Ship travel back then was long and boring. Zeppelins were fast. They zoomed through the sky at 85 miles an hour. You could make it across the ocean in just 2.5 days, a total luxury. Passengers stayed in what was like a fancy hotel tucked into the belly of the Zeppelin, with spectacular views of the world below. A few different countries had Zeppelins, including the United States. We actually called them airships. We used them in our military. But nobody built better Zeppelins than the Germans. First, they built the Graf Zeppelin. Thousands of people flew on the Graf, as it was called. They flew from Germany to South America, to America, and even around the world. And then came the Hindenburg, which started flying in 1936 and instantly became famous around the world. Truly, if you had heard that the Hindenburg was going to fly over your school right now, your teacher would turn off this video and rush you out to the playground so you could see it fly by. The Hindenburg was the biggest, the fastest, and the most elegant flying machine ever built. It was also the safest, people said. People were convinced that the Hindenburg could never crash. The biggest, the fastest, the fanciest, the safest. Does that remind you of something? Yeah, me too. The Titanic. And believe me, after you read my article, you'll really be thinking that. But truly, the Hindenburg was incredible, and I loved every minute of the research I did. I read 11 different books about Zeppelins. I read articles published nearly 100 years ago, and letters written by people who actually traveled on Zeppelins. I wanted to learn all about the history of flight, not only about the Hindenburg. I learned about hot air balloons and early airplanes. I watched videos of the Graf Zeppelin and the Hindenburg. I studied maps of their routes and even found a video game that put me inside the Hindenburg. As a writer, I needed to know everything about the Hindenburg so that I could tell you a story that was packed with details. I wanted you to feel like you were really there, flying hundreds of feet above the earth, thrilled to be flying on the greatest flying machine ever built. I wanted you to understand how the Hindenburg actually changed the world, your world. If it hadn't been for the Hindenburg disaster, I think we would be flying around in Zeppelins today, and I actually really wish we were. I just wonder if they would have let me bring my dog along for the ride.